Hello, 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 and welcome to this live stream. Let's just, before we do anything, introduce anybody, make sure that the audio is okay. So if one of you that are watching right now could just confirm that the audio is okay in the chat, then we will be good to go. There's 11 people out there right now.
How do we sound? Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Yes, audio is okay. That's perfect. And while you're at the keyboard, could you just write where are you where are you joining from? Because that's always interesting to see that people are sort of logging in from all different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I've been super excited to run this live stream because today we have a special guest. We have Dan Davies from DansTube.TV joining us from the southern part of the world, from down under, Australia.
From down under.
And we already prior today had a live stream similar to this one where we're going to talk about the DJI Air 3. So we had a little bit of practice. So hopefully this one will go equally well as it did on your channel, and we will get a lot of exciting questions along the way. The Air 3 is a broad topic, so of course we have put together an agenda for today with some topics that we're going to go over, but you are always free to throw in some comments in the chat, and then we will see if we can get around to it. We will try to time box this around 1 hour, so it's not dragging out for too long. And then maybe I will just hand over the microphone to you, Dan, just for you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Of course. Cool. So hello, everyone. My name is Dan Davis, as you said. My channel is DansTube.TV. I have been basically focusing in on drone content for the last couple of years. I've been on YouTube since 2009. I think I saw you started in 2010, Henrik. Is that right?
Yeah, but not YouTube until 16.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I started doing lots of app reviews and tech reviews, and the last couple of years been a big focus on the drone side of things, and it's been really fun doing lots of comparisons and giveaways.
And also, as I remember from earlier, you have an Air 2S, so you actually are capable of providing content that would do a real comparison between the Air 3 and the Air 2S, correct?
Yes. So I've got a side-by-side comparison coming to the channel soon, hopefully in the coming days. I tried to film it was the same day, same conditions, blue sky, wasn't overcast at all, and I filmed pretty much back to back to try to get as equal of a test as I could. So I'm actually really excited to see it myself. I haven't even reviewed all the footage yet, so I'm keen to see how they actually compare the Air 2S and the Air 3.
I for sure want to watch that. And of course, if it's not already in there, I think it's in there. There's a link for Dan's channel in the description to this live stream. So, all right, so let's just take a brief look at the agenda here. We know time flies in good company. So if I just pull it up here, to see the topics we will be going over here is, of course, we just want to recap the highlights from the Air 3. We're going to talk about this new exciting mode with 100 FPS in 4K. We have a noise comparison because that's an important topic when you're flying a new drone. Vertical video, that's done in a little bit different way than what we are used to. And obstacle avoidance, as we are getting full 360 obstacle avoidance on this drone. This is a very nice thing, and we have been doing some tests on this. Some of us more lucky than others, trying to dodge different obstacles. That's a decent speed. We're going to look into that because this one is a really fast one. We are getting waypoints. There's also like a short touch on that subject. And then something that I saved for last that I know many of you are wondering about is how the night footage look like out of this drone. So this is sort of the game plan. Oh, thank you, Drone Dad.
Oh, very nice. What a legend, Drone Dad.
I guess it's you that should have the money. But it's very, very nice and very appreciated. And again, might sound a little bit cheesy, but if there's many questions going on out here and we have a packed program, if you want to make sure to get our attention, then just use the super chat like this gentleman did, the Drone Dad, then it will definitely get our attention. All right, So let's take a short look here at the specs. The main features, and there's many good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff included with the Air 3 drone. But the crown jewel, I guess, of the drone is the dual camera system, where you have a wide-angle lens that is similar to what we know from the other drones, like a 24mm equivalent. But then you're also getting a 70mm medium telephoto lens that will offer some really nice benefits. It will give you 3 times magnification without any digital degradation. So that's a super, super nice feature. The sensor, which has been sort of what is it called, culprit, or it has been part of a huge discussion, is basically smaller than what we saw on the 2S. It's a 1/1.3 inch CMOS sensor, so it's similar to the one that you know from the Mini 3 Pro, but you actually get 2 of them. You have an improved flight time, 46 minutes, at least on paper. This is not what you're getting in real life, but it do feel like it flies for a really, really long time. We have obstacle avoidance. For the first time on the Air series, we are getting obstacle avoidance all the way around the drone, so it's fully protected. It will not save you in all scenarios. Dan will come but it's at least a huge improvement compared to what we have seen in the previous Air series. Image quality, dual 48 megapixel photos means that you can capture 48 megapixel photos on both cameras. In fact, you can do almost everything with both cameras, as it is. You have access to all the same features on both of them. There's only one difference: is the aperture is sort of 2.8 for the telephoto lens, where it's 1.7 for the wide angle. We are getting the next iteration of the AUSSIES 4 HD video transmission. I guess it means longer distances, higher frame rates, less lagging, and all sorts of stuff. Not that I've been complaining about that in the past. As long as the connection stays more or less stable, it has been perfectly fine. At least it's fine out to the distance where I can see, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So this is sort of this is the game plan as it is right now. So the next thing that we will jump into is you, Dan, if you want to take it away and talk a little bit about the amazing 4K 100 FPS
definitely
that you have captured.
Yep, perfect. I've just shared the screen down the bottom for one of the clips.
Oh, sorry. So.
Perfect. So yes, as you mentioned, we've got the dual camera system on the Air 3. One thing that I really love about this system is that they haven't limited some of the features. Like you can still use the 70mm medium telephoto system and still use 4K 100 frames per second. And that's the same with the wide angle as well. So for me, that's actually been really handy recently because in Australia, it's like whale migration season. So there's a lot of whales that are traveling up the coast. And to be able to use that 3 times telephoto system and to also crop the image so I can keep a safe distance away and still capture some cool content has actually been a lot of fun. It's like the Air 3 is pretty much all I've been using. So yeah, here's some 4K 100 FPS. It basically records it natively in slow motion. So when you put it on your computer, on your phone, whatever that may be, it does basically dump it into slow motion straight away, which is actually super handy for a lot of people out there. I'm just going to share my next screen just so you can see this other one here.
It basically means that you can cut it to smaller clips directly in the app, I guess, and then use those clips directly. So you don't need to mess around with timelines and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's so amazing. These clips are so amazing. It's you had one more.
Okay, yeah, there's another one down there.
That a little bit,
yeah, there's another little screen that you need to enable. There we go. Yeah, so it's been handy because I guess normally like I have an editor that would normally edit a lot of my content, but recently I got myself a new phone, so it's been really good to actually have the footage on my phone in slow motion. And then I can just use, like, there's an app called Video Crop, for example, and you can just crop it into a 9:16, and then I can basically use a lot of this content on my socials. So that's actually been extremely handy because the quality is great. 4K 100 frames per second, super crispy. So yeah, this stuff here, we've just kind of sped some of it up. We've got a little tail flip there, which we slowed down. So that was the slow-mo, and then we kind of sped it up. But yeah, it looks great. It really is great. The HDR options would be the 4K 60 FPS. So like going 4K 100, you do lose some quality, not crazy amounts, but yeah, it's not the full quality of the 4K 60 because it is the slow motion option, but still well worth it. Well worth your time. I'll just quickly share this last one and then I'll pass it back to you. Yeah, unfortunately, the clips are all separate videos.
That's fine. I just need to get used to it. Me that controls it. It needs to happen.
There we go. So this is where, yeah, so wide angle and the medium teller, they both work 4K up to 100 frames per second. So I'll just show this little clip here. So that was just I think that was just the wide angle, that one, and that was 4K 60. That shot there, and then we go into the 4K 100 frames per second very soon. But that's pretty much like what I've been using exclusively on this system. I'm obsessed with the 4K at 100 frames per second. So like this, you just see the bubbles come up. And again, if I was filming this just normally, like the whales only breach for a couple of seconds. So I wouldn't really have much footage to play with if I did it any other way. Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing footage. I bet that gets you a lot of likes and and comments when you put that out.
Yeah, there's
those
a lot
are
of
amazing creatures.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in Australia who are actually like, that's their content. They exclusively post whale content on their Instagram or on their YouTube. So there's a lot of people out there getting phenomenal stuff, like amazing stuff, next level. But yeah, it's cool. I'm just starting it myself.
Yeah, so one comment for this, the resolution is kind of funny. Not the resolution, but the frame rate is kind of funny that it's 100. I think you like it because you use 25 frames per second timelines.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us, yeah, funny enough, I use 30 FPS on my timelines. It's not such a good fit. So 90 FPS, if it's sort of a computational limitation of the drone, would have been better. Or maybe 120 FPS would have been nice. So maybe that's something that we would see in the future.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Is it okay if I quickly mention this, the battery thing?
Sure.
Because I will forget otherwise. I've got my note on my system. Unfortunately, my batteries are fully charged, so you won't get to truly see, but I can explain how this works. This is an exclusive feature for the Air 3 charging hub. So normally, if you've seen a charging hub before, you can press the button once on the side, and it'll just let you know how the charge is going. But what you can do on this unit is, let's say, for example, you've gone out and you've flown these two batteries, and then the third battery in here is full, but then these two are only on 2 bars. What you can do is you can press the button once, so it goes yellow, and then press and hold again, like you're powering on your drone. It will go green, and then it will actually start trickle charging into the battery that has the highest charge. So again, I can't truly show you because all of my batteries are fully charged right now, but it's very handy because then if you're traveling to different locations, you can basically start trickle charging so that you don't have to change a battery after like a 15-minute flight, for example. So very handy and something that's not spoken about.
If you're out over the water, it's really nice to have that extended flight time. Have you tried it so you know how fast it is?
Yeah, the charging.
The charging.
It's not ridiculously fast. Like, yeah, if you're traveling between locations and it's like a 20-minute trip, it will maybe send over like 20%, let's say. It's like it does an all right job, but you kind of need to be mindful that it's not like a super fast charging. It's like something if you're out and about and you don't have any other charging options, it's just handy to chuck it on anyway.
Yeah, but I guess a car charger would do a better job.
Potentially,
if you're traveling by a car.
Yeah,
it's of course it's a nice option. Let's just grab this question here because it's related to this topic. So that's basically to you, Dan.
So no, that was actually just shot in normal color profile. I didn't go with any of the D-Log or any of the other log options. It was just in normal. Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of my work in the past in D-Log and HLG and all sorts of stuff, but I reverted back to the 8-bit because it kind of looks, for the most part, it looks perfect out of the camera. It's very hard to sort of yeah, maybe if the light situation is challenging, you could do something to maximize the dynamic range. But in general, they're doing a pretty good job with the footage that comes out of the camera, and it's one thing less to worry about when you're out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I find that normal a lot of the time does the job for most people. Really, the people I talk to, it's like.
And also, if you're out capturing like whales and stuff like that, you don't want to mess too much around with the settings.
No.
You just want to make sure to focus on whatever it is that you're filming, and not be worried that maybe the footage is underexposed, it's overexposed, it's
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're introducing too much pressure on ourselves by running the camera in manual mode, because we think we are the experts, but most of the time the auto settings will get you a really decent result.
Yeah.
So okay, so next is a noise comparison, because when you're buying a drone like this, it's usual you are maybe upgrading from the Mini 3 Pro. Then you might be wondering how noisy is this drone actually? Be worried about that, because we know there's a lot of Karens out there that is ready in the bushes to jump you if you fly your drone or close to their private property. So of course I have tested that. I've made a noise comparison between the Mini 3 Pro, the Air 3, as well as the Mavic 3 Classic, because they are basically the wide span of drones from DJI consumer drones. Let me just see if I can get this video running here. So share audio like this. So here we go.
There we go.
Let's start out with the Air 3.
Take off.
So you can see here towards the end here, you can see basically the results. Let's just drop it here. You can see these are the measurements that I've done at 1.2 meters. It's basically when it has just taken off. And it's no surprise that you would have the Mini 3 Pro as the lowest one, because that's really a ninja drone when you fly it around. You have the Mavic 3 Classic as the top one, and then you have the Air 3 somewhere in between. This is basically what I would have expected, but if we increase the altitude to 10 meters, you'll see a different picture. You would actually see that the Air 3 and the Mavic 3 Classic is around the same noise level, where again, the Mini 3 Pro is significantly quieter. And what I think the reason for this is due to the legislation that we have here in Europe, where we have a maximum noise level that is allowed for drones if they have to be classified in a certain classification. And both these two drones are C1 drones, so there's like an upper limit for how much noise they are allowed to emit. So this is basically the reason why these two are on the same level. But the overall conclusion is that if you're upgrading from the Mini 3 Pro to the Air 3, then you will have a drone that makes more noise, and this might impact in sort of people in your surroundings, how they would react when you are flying around. So that's just something to be aware of. Of course, it's not a biggie, but it's something that you need to be aware of. So
definitely.
All right. So that was okay. So that was a noise comparison.
You got the right one.
I now have the right one. Next time I will try to pay attention here. It's been a long day with a lot of meetings and stuff. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is I'll hand it over to you. That is the vertical view.
Yep.
That's
perfect. Great. So again, this is just I'll have to show two screens. So this is the first screen, but yeah, all of them are kind of condensed into my reviews and comparisons. I've just tried to find the best moments here. But similar to, well, I guess it's different, but similar. But the Mini 3 Pro offered, and the Mini 3 series offered the vertical video that was native, so the camera would flip.
Yeah.
Where the Air 3 is basically cropping the image. So you'll see here that it actually crops it for you so that you can upload it. And this is basically what it looks like. So it gives you the highlighted area in the middle, which is basically what's being filmed. But then it still gives you the left and the right-hand side of the frame, just so you can actually see what's happening in the frame. So I actually find this really helpful because then you can plan out where you're going to fly next. It also lets you know if there's anything in the area in case there are any trees or obstacles in the way. So it is actually handy that they thought of this. I don't know why I was so impressed when I saw it. I don't know, for some reason I thought they wouldn't give us the option of the whole frame, but it's great that they've actually designed it in this way, because it's subtle enough.
Yeah, I think it's possible because they do like a cropping of the sensor. They still have the sensor. They still capture the full image. So of course, they can show it on the sides. But when they have tried to do that in the past, the interface was lacking really bad. And I really like the way that it's being implemented right now. I agree with you. It's nice that you can see the full picture and then sort of assess which part of it you want to crop out, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it does make a big difference. We are limited a little bit with resolution. So 2.7K at 60 frames per second is the max that we can use with the Air 3 at the moment. By the time we release this video, who knows if there will be a software update. But right now, 2.7K, 60 frames per second, and 1080p at 60 frames per second. But if you are uploading to social networks anyway, in the vertical format, whether it's TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, whatever it may be, 2.7K is honestly enough for most people. You really don't need the 4K. They're already going to heavily crop it anyway. So, yeah,
but it is, like we have talked about, it is a downgrade because this one, because it tilts the whole camera, including the lens, including the sensor, you get 4K on this drone. But again, if you're using it on social media, it might not be that important.
Yeah, but like you said, 4K on the Mini 3 Pro, so that is a big calling card if you're looking for social media content. That vertical content is really important to you. And yeah, so this is another option of me filming, another example of me filming vertical video there, but that then means that I have no option, obviously, then to make it a wide video. It's like it's set as a vertical video, so I guess you just got to keep that in mind and be intentional with what you're actually filming. I'll just quickly share this other screen. Let me stop sharing.
Do you know if it's possible? If it's possible to program one of the C1, C2 switches to switch between vertical and horizontal? I guess it is.
Oh, that's a good question. I actually don't know.
Because you have that as an option on the Mini 3 Pro. Then
that's true.
The camera when you press one of them. So maybe you can.
Yeah, I wonder if you can. That would actually make a lot of sense. I'll look into it.
Because I can understand if you are in the process of capturing this, you don't want to mess around going in the menu and trying to turn the camera or change the aspect ratio.
And then just miss it all,
Yeah.
All right, so this was one of those moments that I captured with the vertical camera, with the vertical video of a little baby whale kind of chasing a little dolphin, smashing its head down. So again, such a beautiful, rare moment to capture. Luckily, I was able to just quickly jump into the vertical video mode to capture that. But yeah, it does work quite well. I really like that's what the interface looks like there. So yeah, everything still displays as usual, but it's just kind of highlighted in the area where you're actually recording. So I think it's a really great offering that just gives you a little bit more control. It's not for everyone. Not everyone uses vertical video. They normally would maybe crop the video anyway, but I think it's nice to have it as an option.
Okay, so now we are back to the obstacle avoidance. And what makes this unique is the first time that we see true 360 obstacle avoidance on the Air series. And the way that they have done it is they have these like four, let me just unfold it here. They have these like four protruding lenses here that sort of covers the whole area of the drone, which will give it, at least to my experience, a very, very good protection. Dan, you might change my opinion a little bit later during this live stream. But so far, it has been really, really good for me. And I thought when I got the drone, because we got that feature, that I should put it through its paces. And then now I'm going to play the obstacle avoidance video for you. And instead of you listening to all the bipping before, I've muted the audio so I can kind of speak into what is going on here. So let me just start it here. So we continue where we left from before, and I have used the 3 times telephoto lens just to make everything look a little bit more dramatic. And right now it's moving. It's moving or tracking me through this path here. There's a lot of branches sticking out. I know that it's easier for the drone under these circumstances because there are leaves on all the branches. So it's easier for it to see, but still, see, now it's kind of wondering what to do. It's sort of trying to see if it can navigate through this. And I was kind of thinking it would fail. You would see it's blinking red all over the place because it detects all of it. And then all of a sudden, maybe it's because I'm moving and leaving a room for it. It's still struggling, saying, oh, okay, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? What should I give up? Should I land? Low battery?
It's trying to figure it out.
It's trying to figure it out.
Struggling.
And it hasn't lost me at that point.
No.
And of course, because of the zoom, it looks a lot more dramatic. So,
there you go.
So when I move there, just for a second, so it figured its way through it.
Nice, it made it.
And of course, I had to film it so you could see it from the outside. It's actually really crazy that it went through. It went through this.
Wow.
So I was happy to see that it survived that because it could have gone really, really wrong.
Yeah.
So, but that leaves me to you because you had a different experience because you basically did what I just said.
Yeah.
Took your drone out in an environment where there's not that many leaves.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
And that changed the game a little bit.
Yeah. So this is my little extreme active track test. I've done this with a few drones. So I've done it with the Mavic 3 series and done it with the Mini 3 series, I guess. I did it with the Mini 3 Pro, sorry, because the Mini 3 doesn't have active track. So Mini 3 Pro and then the Mavic 3 series. So same location, very dense area, a lot of like tiny little thin branches. And I did what you did as well. I played around with the wide angle and then I went in with that 3 times telephoto just to see how it performed. It did pretty well most of the time. Like this shot here, look at that. It's like swinging around the trees there, not hitting anything. And there was a lot going on there. So it did a great job in a lot of different scenarios. It struggled a little bit here. And it kind of, I think it nicked a tree. There you go. It nicked a little like branch there. But what I did notice before this point was that the drone, the Air 3, kept kind of increasing in altitude. And that was different behavior to what I've seen with the other drones that I've tested in this area. They would normally keep at the same kind of height. But you see that when I go out into this wide open area in a second, let me just skip a little bit. You see it keeps like an okay height there where it's following me from behind. But it seems to be when it's following me from the front that it increases in altitude. So you see that I now swap it to the front and now it's already started to go up a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, a few people have commented on my videos telling me that was one of the hits there, telling me that it doesn't have as much field of view on the obstacle avoidance sensors as the Mavic 3 series. So there are a few blind spots. And people were telling me that when it's trying to follow you from the front, so it's reversing, it's going back, there are some blind spots there. So that's why some people were telling me they think that it was increasing in altitude here. But you can see I go down this little path here, pretty open. You can see all the sensors going off. And this is where I made contact and the drone fell out of the sky. Not a fun time at all. So you can see it is a little bit higher than the other tests that I did before. Not crazy high though. I think it's coming up here. Yeah, so this part here. So I tried to actually pull it down because I tried to force it to go a little bit lower. But again, it increased. And then it hit the branches, struggled, and boom. Straight down. Yeah.
that hurt.
Not fun.
So
Yeah,
what about the other drones? What you mentioned, you have tested the other drones in the same location. How did they perform?
They were completely fine, honestly. The Mavic 3 blew me away because it's a larger drone again than the Air 3. It was maneuvering these tight little spots really well. Yeah, I was extremely impressed by how it was going lower a lot of the time to go under things. It was swinging around a lot. I think it was a lot more, it felt like it was almost a lot more confident, you know, where I felt with the Air 3, it was confident, but then it kept increasing in altitude, and I don't know whether there was some blind spots there. And the Mini 3 Pro, it's a little smaller, but I found that even though it's got less sensors, basically with the Mini 3 Pro, the big standout was that it tried not to go left and right because it doesn't have side sensors. So it was trying to avoid flying, doing those swinging motions, but it would go up and down a fair bit and it would avoid a fair bit. You know, it did a great job. And again, only nicked like a branch and that was it, never crashed, and yeah, did a great job. Yeah, so unfortunately the Air 3 landed on the camera. So I am having some issues with the actual camera pointing down.
Hopefully you have a DJI Care refresh on it.
No, unfortunately not. So yeah, I'll have to go and get that one fixed, unfortunately. But yeah, I think like you said, because there was no greenery, I think the branches were so thin that it just could not pick up on them at all. Unfortunately.
Yeah, so at least if we should conclude something on here, you need to be careful if you're flying in around thin wires and thin branches and stuff like that. It's not 100% bulletproof, and I don't know why I took it through that path. It could have equally ended.
It could have been a similar result.
Yeah, it could.
Yours was great though, through that tight little cap at the end. Crazy.
Yeah. And it did it a few more times during the full video if you watch it. But then there was also other situations where I kind of lost it and made some wrong calls, basically. It went on the other side of a tree and then sort of got trapped, so it couldn't find itself back. So you can end up in a situation like that where it judges wrong. Maybe in this scenario, it was easier because there was basically nowhere to go. There was nowhere to the side where it could fly because there was branches there all over the place.
Yeah, true.
So
yeah.
All right, let's just grab a question more here. So what program do we use for color grading and brightening up our videos?
Do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. Well, I used to use DaVinci Resolve, which is a free software. It's an Australian developed software, actually. But it's free for the most part. You only need to pay if you want like high resolution and a few other options. But for the most part, you can use the free software. It's got extremely powerful color grading options. So DaVinci Resolve is what I was using. But then I've now recently hired an editor, and they use Premiere Pro. So that's what they're using now, and I don't really edit too much anymore.
My story is a little bit similar to yours. Not DaVinci Resolve. I have been using it for a while, but I found that it was a little bit too rough on my computer. But there is a lot of option in that suite, no doubt about that, and maybe also too many for the average consumer to sort of grasp. So the learning curve is pretty steep on this editor. Me personally, I've been editing most of my videos in Final Cut, and that's not because it's basically because Final Cut runs really, really great on the Mac hardware. It doesn't run on anything else, but still, even though it's tied to that one, it runs really, really well. So you can record 4K footage without any sort of lagging and all sorts of stuff. It's really great. And it's becoming even better when you switch to the Apple Silicon, the newer chips and stuff like that, which I'm not fortunate to have yet. But I've done the same as you have done. Basically, I was already starting the process when we initially started talking here a couple of months ago, interviewing editors. You sort of told me that you had outsourced your editing process as well. And that only encouraged me further to go along that route. It's not easy to find a good editor, and it's not easy to find a good editor that is affordable. But I think I managed to find a guy that is at least willing to work with me. So he's really fast at picking up sort of my pace. That's sort of the biggest challenge, is to train the editor to understand what it is that you want as an end result.
Yeah.
That was a big detour from the actual question. but in general, I don't do much to the footage, actually. As we mentioned earlier in this live stream, it looks pretty good out of the camera. So if I do something, I might increase the exposure a bit just to make it a little bit brighter, because I tend to underexpose my footage on purpose to protect the highlights. So when I did the editing, so sometimes I had to push the exposure a little bit up to compensate for that. But apart from that, it's no.
Yeah.
Spend your time on capturing great stuff instead of messing around with settings for colors and stuff.
Yeah.
That would be my,
and that's
my
right.
recommendation.
That's actually, for me, like, I intentionally, most of the time, try to leave everything on auto, because I guess the way I think about it is, when people are watching my content, they're watching the comparisons or the reviews, or they're watching like out of the box content. So I guess for me to like heavily edit it anyway, it might not be achievable for the average person who's thinking about buying that drone. So that's actually the main reason why most of the time I leave it in auto, just to show people what they can get out of the drone immediately. And so I guess that's one of the reasons why I actually do it myself.
I do want to say I have been encountering or been part of the client work where the client asked to get flat color profiles because they wanted to match it together with other footage that they're shooting. Yeah. So, but in general, auto, and make sure it's properly exposed and off to the races. So you got a new subscriber.
Oh, nice! Thank you, Captain Joe Merica. Thank you, appreciate it.
So. All right, so let's see where we are here. So right now, we kind of, for those of you that have been flying the Mini 3 Pro, you would probably notice that the ascent and descent speed is not really that impressive. It's I think what we calculated to 5 meters per second or something like that.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Then you got the bigger drones there. You got the Mavic 3 Classic. That's like a rocket. At least it should be a rocket in comparison. That's like 8 meters per second up and maybe 6 meters per second going down.
Yeah.
So I was really surprised to read the specs and find out that the Air 3 actually has 10 meters per second, both up and down. And of course, I made a little video to show you what that looks like. So it can actually ascend and descend with 10 meters per second.
The rocket.
So there, around 35 meters, it hits 10 meters per second. And it goes down. It does not reach 10 meters per second on the way down. I've chosen a larger altitude. It would have.
Did you find that it was slower on the way down, or was that just because you were mindful of the house?
I don't know. I don't know if I actually stopped at or I should have gone higher. Maybe.
Okay.
You should not imagine it shouldn't be a problem with the descent speed. You should be able to compensate for that. I don't know why it didn't reach completely 10 meters per second, but it was close, 9.2 or something.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Nice. And yeah, that's, as we were saying in the other live, like, that is helpful for a few reasons, right? It's like, if you want to get something's happened and you want to get out there as quickly as possible, that extra speed is obviously going to get you to the location fast, but it also allows you to potentially dodge birds if there's birds or other obstacles in the way.
Yeah.
I find that to be pretty helpful. It is definitely like noticeably faster. You know, when you launch it and just send it up into the sky, it's noticeably faster.
And that's just one of the surprises with this Air 3. It's like when you look at the set of features that they have included, it's kind of amazing how much they have packed into this drone. And I know the next thing that we're going to talk about is also a surprise that they actually decided to include that with the Air 3, as this is mainly reserved for the bigger drones in the Mavic 3 series. And that's Waypoint and cruise control.
Oh, that's a funny face I've got going on there. So this is, as you said,
thumbnail.
yeah, it could be a good thumbnail. So this is just kind of the sped up process here, but what's really cool about the Waypoints feature on the Air 3 is that they haven't dumbed it down for the Air 3. It's still the same Pro offering that we had on the Mavic 3 series. And you can see that little icon there is how you enable the waypoints. But what's really cool is you can plan waypoint missions from pretty much anywhere, which is great. Like I've done it a few times where I've been at home and I've been sitting down, gone into the map, and then I've just planned out a flight because I know that one of the buildings, for example, was about 15 meters high. I knew that if I was at 30 meters, the drone would be looking down a little bit. And I decided to kind of do like a little bit of an orbit around this building. So I was able to do that at home using the satellite images from the map. And yeah, did a great job. So this one here was actually me out on the field, basically just testing it as I was going. And down the bottom here, you can actually see when it starts going. You can change everything, all the settings here. You can even change like the zooming options. So as you go to different waypoints, it will slowly start zooming in. So I think I have to change the point of interest here because it wasn't facing anything. But yeah, down the bottom here, you can actually see it basically tells you a few things. It tells you what waypoint it's up to, how many meters of the mission it's gone so far, and then also the time. So it gives you some basic information. You can pause the waypoint at any time.
Yeah, where it is time-wise and how much it needs to be completed.
Just so down here, so 1 minute 15. Yeah. So it's pretty handy.
And the same with the distance on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, just over here as well.
How far you are.
So that's pretty handy. And then you can switch between the video feed and then the map. So that can be quite handy, yeah, to go between those settings. But I find the waypoints, to be, again, one of those things that maybe is a little bit underrated or not many people talk about, but it definitely is a pro offering. They haven't, they haven't dumbed down this feature. There's so much in it. I've actually done like a full video comparing everything, but yeah, you can actually change different zoom points. So you can, like, from waypoint to waypoint, you can slowly have the camera zooming in with the digital zoom, which is, pretty cool, pretty unique. And then you can change like the point of interest for different points and whatnot. So it is quite an advanced offering. And then the other thing is the cruise control.
Can I just say something before you talk about cruise control? Is that you know that I was kind of surprised to see that you could do it on the map because I kind of, maybe I knew it, but I haven't tried it at all. I'm normally, when I'm using the waypoint missions, I'm using the buttons here that basically fly the mission, because in the past I found it very difficult to pre-plan a mission. I think you can have all these great things in your head, but once you see it executed, you always end up going in, changing stuff. Like you said, the point of interest is pointing nowhere. There's something you overlooked. So I really like that they have built in like this macro recorder feature that will allow you to fly the mission and then basically adjust everything on the way when you do it. So when you're gonna set a waypoint, you just press C1, and when you're gonna take it away, you can use C2, and then you can just fly to the next location and stuff like that. And in that way, you can ensure that everything is nice. You can even play the mission in reverse if you want that. So when you put in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waypoints, and you're really happy with this, so instead of having to fly back to the first waypoint, you would just ask it to start with 5 and then go to 4, 3, 2, 1. So in that way, you can sort of save some battery time when you're doing this. So it's nice that both options available for doing this. So it fits sort of the way that you would like to work with this. So
100%, yeah. And I do like that feature, being able to actually press the buttons as you're going, because it allows you to then frame exactly where you want the drone to look. So, with that test that I was doing there, like I had a point of interest in the distance and then just kind of set up waypoints, not knowing, like you said, not knowing where I'd be pointing, if it even looked good. So the benefit of programming it yourself is that you choose exactly the framing, exactly the height, all of those things. So then you can create a very dynamic mission that way. So it's, again, great that they've given us both options, because both of them work well, and it depends on what you want to do for your own preference, I guess.
I guess there's some scenarios where it's quite easy to do it pre-plan it. But when it's really complicated and a lot of angles and compositions and stuff like that, I think it's better that you just fly the mission and just check it out and see what it looks like.
Yeah, 100%.
Again,
100%.
up to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but that's it. You've got that control. Whoever has the Air 3 out there, you've got that control.
Yeah. That's for
All
sure.
right. So I'll quickly show this cruise control option. So again, this was a feature available on the Mavic 3 series, one of those tucked away features, but you basically enable it through your settings for the button customization. So you can either make it C1 or C2 in the settings for button customization. And basically what would happen is when you're flying your drone, you could be flying this way and going up, and then you press the cruise control button and it will continue that momentum no matter how many inputs you put into the actual controller itself. So it can be very powerful. And yeah, sometimes if you've flown a lot of drones, you'll know that sometimes like the slightest movement can screw up the image just a little bit. You can just get a little bit of a jumpy shot. You can see here, that's where you go to customize it. And then basically you start flying in whatever direction you want to fly in, and you can go with the 1 times or the 3 times. Again, they don't limit it, which is fantastic. And this one here, I'm just doing a basic one. I'm just kind of flying to the right. I've just enabled it. You can see aircraft in cruise control, and it will now just perpetually keep moving, basically, until it runs out of range, which you know, you don't want to do. But it is great. It really is a great feature, and you don't have to worry about awkwardly knocking it, or sometimes your fingers can get a bit cramped up, and you might have to stop moving or stop the recording. So yeah, that just stops any of those awkwardness, you know, and any of that awkwardness that might pop up.
A 100% underrated feature because it's so useful. It's very, very useful. That's for sure. And also, did you say that it takes multiple inputs? So if you kind of do multiple motions, it will continue doing those.
Yeah, I think I've done 3 before where I've come back and then started yawing the drone and then also increasing. So it's kind of like coming around like this, revealing whatever it was I was shooting. And did it perfectly. 3 different inputs. It just kept moving, didn't stop. And again, if I was to do that on my own,
that is very, very easy to screw up if you do that.
Oh yeah, very easy.
So, yeah, okay, we're doing good. We are passing the 15-minute mark here, and if we are aiming towards keeping this on 1 hour, we need to head over to the next thing on the agenda, which is the night footage.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just pick that video. So we're not starting out with night footage, but we're starting out with daylight footage. And that is simply just to have sort of establish a baseline. And it's the real footage that's in the red frame. I just kept the screen recording on the outside, so it's possible to see what's going on. So this is sort of an urban area with some tents and stuff up here. So I did like a 400% magnification. So we just have a benchmark. So now next is the blue hour. So after sunset, a good part after sunset, it was actually getting pretty dark there. And this is what the normal footage looked like in 30 FPS. So just auto setting and 4K 30. And this is with the wide angle lens where we get the most amount of light in. So the next we're going to do, we switch it into night mode. And what happens here is actually the difference is that under the hood, you will get boost in ISO. It will go from 6,400 up to 12,800. So this is what's going on. We will have a 400% magnification of the clips here just in a second here. I've just thrown in the telephoto lens. I think I did throw in the telephoto lens. No, I did not. So in this scenario, you can see 12,800 just in Pro mode to show you that this is what happens to the ISO. It actually kept the shutter speed at 1/60. So now we're throwing it in the telephoto mode. So now you can see the magnifications. This is what it looks, the normal mode. This is what the night mode looks like. All of this is with neutral exposure. And this is what the telephoto looks like. And that is supposed to be a little bit darker, the telephoto lens, because it only lets in half the amount of light. So that adds up perfectly. And then I did some recordings after midnight. And here you can see There's not so much to see. You can only see the lights.
Very dark.
The lights from the cars. I think this is night mode. I did a reference recording, as far as I recall. I'm switching it down to shutter speed 30 to get the maximum light that I can get in there. So this is basically the best it can do in the standard mode, and normal mode. Then I hope I've switched it into night mode. That would make perfectly sense because it's in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
so this is night mode. So see what happens here is if I put everything in auto just to show you what settings the drone will choose. So 12,800 in ISO, so the maximum gain for the sensor, and then 1/30 in shutter speed. And we can't go lower than that. In photo mode, you can go lower, but with a 30 frames per second video recording, you can't go lower than 1/30 because that basically means the shutter is open all the time. So we can't do better than this. So you can see, this is what we can do with this drone when it's pitch black on the outside. So if you're going out somewhere in, I don't know, in the mountains or something to film, then and it's dark, then you won't see anything. I kind of switched over these two. So this one should have said. Okay, so I made a switch here. So this is basically the telephoto lens in normal mode, 4K 30, 400%. So night mode, the same 400%. And then the telephoto, you can see there is quite some noise when you magnify the photo by 400% or the image by 400%.
Yeah.
But I guess that is to be expected. Then I just shot a few photos just to show you my point with the shutter that can be lower than 30. You see, this is a lot better. This could be fixed in the editing program. The noise could be minimized there. And I throw in the telephoto lens as well. And if we magnify that 400%, see, it looks like this. There's actually a lot of details that can be visible here. So I'm pretty sure this could be touched up in a photo program. So
yeah, it's not terrible considering how far you are away. It looks pretty usable, really.
Yeah, I am pretty far away. Just imagine it. You see, this is I think this was the white. Yeah. No. Let's see if I can find that.
Yeah.
Cut. Yeah, this is the white. So this is it's this area over here that I'm zooming into on the images here, like this. So yeah, it's decent, definitely decent. But you need to work with the conditions that you're in, and if you expect it to be able to see in the dark, it can't. It relies on that at least there are some subjects that are illuminated that you're filming. So now we are ready to look at some questionnaires here. There's a few ones here I can see. Always find the sweet spot in the settings, and it can be auto and be consistent. You always have to post to tweak. Yeah, that's true. You can do that, of course, but as we mentioned before, in general, the auto settings are doing a pretty good job. So it's crazy fast ascending. I haven't seen that. Billy Kyle, descending in sport mode, misjudging the speed and bounced off the ground and cracked the sensor.
Oh no!
So he's in the DansTube club.
Yeah, it's going to be all these broken Air 3s going back to DJI.
Yeah, but there's no doubt because the camera is huge. So when it takes a hit, something will go wrong. So there's did you learn how to get the screenshot to record? No, the screen recorder to record audio. No, I haven't figured that one out. Have you figured that out?
Well, I know that with the original DJI RC, you could use, let me just get it. You could use the DJI mic here.
Yes, but that went into the host port that is hidden under the
and that's been removed now. True.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I guess it might not work.
And you could also plug in just a cheap $15 USB microphone in this one, and it will work. But in this one, it does not work. I haven't tried the mic actually, if that works. But yeah, maybe I should do that. But at least when I plugged in the USB-C mic, it didn't work.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe
that's a no. And that's basically 2 requests that we as content creators who would like to have, if DJI is watching this on replay, is that we want to be able to put audio on our screen recordings, and we want the screen recordings in 1080p as minimum.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's really, really bad. It can stream 1080p from 12 kilometers away, 60 FPS, no latency, and we are stuck with 720p screen recordings.
Yeah, that would be nice, actually. 1080p, so the option to record audio.
Yeah, we use that all the time. It's sort of the baseline when we're out doing tutorials and stuff, is that we can sort of speak into what we're doing.
Exactly. But also not just for us. Like, what about the people who, if you were to go out on a massive flight mission, let's say it's with the whales and you're trying to capture whales, there's a lot of footage in there where I'm not filming much, or there's a few things that didn't work out. So to even just be able to narrate it and go, that the first clip was great, that's a usable clip. The second clip, about 20 seconds in is where it starts getting interesting. Like, you could actually help yourself when you're editing, or help whoever it is that's editing.
I had another scenario. I had a teaching session with a guy that asked me if I could join him and learn him basically the basics of the DJI Flyer. So I went to see this guy, and then before we started out, I actually plugged in a microphone in his controller and started the screen recorder. Then we recorded the whole session, 1 hour, where we were going through quick shots, camera modes. He was flying over water, all sorts of stuff. And then when I got back home, I offloaded that screen recording from the SD card, and then I sent it to him afterwards. Then he had everything that we talked about, because if you're teaching for 1 hour, the people that you're teaching can't remember half of what you taught them. So it was a nice thing for him to have that afterward, so he could go back and he could basically pair it up with the footage that he recorded as well, if he wanted to do that. So
100%.
I think we are at the end of the road here, unless there are some other questions popping in here in the last 2 minutes overdue. I think that's it. So thank you, Dan, for joining me today.
Of course.
And it's been a pleasure being on your live stream, and it's always also been a pleasure talking to you here on this channel. So it's
appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in as well, and all the questions we've had. Definitely keen to do more. And
make sure to check out Dan's channel, which would be in the description of this live stream here. So head over to him, and if you like what he's doing, and I'm pretty sure that you do because you're watching my stuff, then you also like what he's doing, because there's a lot of similarities. So I think you will have a good time checking out his content. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and take care, and see you on the next one.